金をもらったのはいくらぐらいなの
2年半ぐらいやってるんですけど、2億以上。
23でさ、2億円やばくない？
でも、ゲーム残ってないんで。
なんで？
クラブに使うからね。
やばすぎ。嘘ついてお金をもらってる時点で、お前やっぱ詐欺師と一緒じゃないやってること。
私あれってこと、
そうだよ。
Imagine you're 18, with no skills, no education, stuck in a dead-end job, and someone told you that you needed to make $1 million in a year. Where would you get the money from? For Watanabe Mai, the answer was obvious. From men, of course. Mai developed an incredibly effective method for scamming money out of lonely men and released it as a guide to help other women get rich too. Her tactics spread like wildfire on social media, but then the cops got wind of it. Mai's magic system is genius, and I'm gonna go through all of it, but it is unethical and illegal. That's why I've rebranded it to the Scammer System. Pay attention so you don't become a victim, and obviously, do not use it.
Okay.
Alright gang, listen up. The first thing you have to do is S, select your target. Not every guy is a good target, so if you don't choose the right ones, you're gonna waste a lot of time. Broke losers are out. You gotta find a guy who's good at making money but bad at holding on to it.
That's exactly right.
The perfect mark is a guy who's lonely, isolated, and has no hobbies. A guy who has no meaning in life, who's not fulfilled. Ideally, he has nobody who relies on him and no interactions with women.
だけどうちは生きる希望がない。毎日仕事して帰って寝て毎日帰って仕事して寝て。なんで生きてるんだろう。
The reason Mai knows this is the best type of man to target is because she used to work in what the Japanese call the night industry, if you know what I'm saying. One evening, she desperately texted every guy on her contact list asking for money, and the only reply she got was from the loneliest, most unfulfilled guy she knew. When it comes to the kind of guy you should avoid, Mai recommends staying away from playboys and F-boys, the kind of guys who are self-centered and only interested in physical relationship. As I mentioned earlier, you want a guy who's unfulfilled and lonely, so you should avoid guys who have a fulfilling life.
趣味があるうち、旅行行くのが好きだったり、バイクが好きだったり、生活が充実している人、友達が多かったりとか。
And you gotta avoid guys who are full of themselves. Guys who flash money around may seem like ideal targets, but they're savvy and self-centered, making them difficult to manipulate. Now that you've selected your target, it's time to C, cultivate trust.
信頼関係構築、知らない人とか、最近知り合った人とか、お金くれない人が言われたとしても、渡そうと。
思わないね、普通の人は。やばいやつから声かけられたってなるね。
If he doesn't trust you, why would he give you money? So, you gotta make him trust you. The best way to do that is to make him feel like you're his girlfriend. That means texting him all the time, every day, when you wake up, throughout the day, before you go to sleep. You need to make him feel like he's special to you.
おじくんと話してると落ち着くな。私男の人苦手なんだけど、おじくんと話せるんだ。俺って特別なんだって思わせるような。
思わせるって言ってんじゃん。やっぱ騙そうとしてるの。うるさ。
The next thing you gotta do is learn everything about him. Stuff like, what time does he wake up? What does he do on his days off? What was his childhood like? If you skip this step and try to extract money without making him fully trust you, he'll get suspicious and you will fail. Mai gives examples of her favorite messages to use on guys. Stuff like, messaging you first thing in the morning has become the highlight of my day, and it feels so nice to say goodnight to you. Okay, now that you've got him to trust you, it's time for the fun part, extracting cash.
Yay!
To do this, we will start by A, arousing concern. Basically, you need to make him think that you're in danger and that the solution is for him to give you some money. Mai refers to this part as casting a spell on him.
You're a complete sociopath!
Don't interrupt.
To start, abruptly stop texting him for 2, 3, or even 4 days. He'll get worried about you and probably spam you with messages. Don't open them. Hold out. Once he's ready, find a time when you think he's home and ready to have a conversation. Say something like,
I'm sorry I didn't message you, but I was too embarrassed to tell you what I've been dealing with. I'm being chased by debt collectors.
Don't elaborate. Make him ask for details and slowly trickle them out to him. Make sure you're ready with your story. Prepare all the specific details beforehand.
Example, I'm behind on rent.
He'll say, since when?
2 months ago.
Why haven't you paid?
The economy, medical bills, whatever.
What happens if you don't pay?
I could get evicted, or my parents might find out.
If you've done things correctly, you now have a trusting guy who's sympathetic to your financial troubles. Now, is it time to ask him for money?
No.
Actually, Mai never directly asks for money. Instead, the next step is to mention solutions that don't really solve the problem. These are things like,
I've been talking to someone who says he'll lend me the money, but he's connected to the Yakuza.
obviously, your guy doesn't want you to get money from the Yakuza, but he's probably not ready to pay yet. So his first instinct will be to come up with all kinds of solutions that get him off the hook. Things like, have you considered speaking to a lawyer? Or have you asked your parents for help? He's like a worm trying to wriggle away. Anticipate these questions and be ready with answers. Things that make him feel bad, like,
Lawyer, I told you about this because I trust you. I don't want to tell somebody else about this.
or,
Go to my parents. They hate me. I ran away from home, remember?
at this point, if you've done everything right and he trusts you, he will offer to pay your debt. Mai has a rule where you have to refuse the first time, but eventually give in and accept his money. Success! But it's not over yet. The next part is crucial. You need to make him feel like a hero. Mai calls this part aftercare,
お金いただいた後は、ちゃんと盛大に、おじのおかげで助かってありがとうっていうふうに伝えてあげるのがアフターケア。
and she stresses, seriously, look how many extra characters she added here for emphasis, that this aftercare is the most important step. You need to make him feel like a white knight who saved the princess. Say things like,
Thank you so much. You've given me a place to sleep tonight.
give him a breakdown of exactly how you spent the money. Hint at your bright romantic future together and tell him what horrible things might have happened if it wasn't for him.
If I hadn't met you, I might be dead right now.
Or,
You saved my life. Please don't ever leave me.
you need to make sure that he feels warm and fuzzy about giving you the money. If you skip this step, who knows what could happen? But if you did it correctly, this sets you up in perfect position to end or repeat. If Mai thinks the guy doesn't have any more cash left, or if she's put him in too much debt already, she'll try to let the conversation die out and move on to the next guy. But most of the time, if you wait a few weeks or months, you can loop back to the start and try to get money from him all over again. Mai says most of her targets pay her more than once.
生きてるおじさん。
ほうほうほうほう。
ガインガインってなっちゃって、おじがお休みとか送ってくるから。
今
後で電話してみあ、この人はもう2000万以上いただいてます。
マジで
はい。
She even has a guy who buys her the new iPhone every year. In her 4-year career, it's likely that Mai scammed over $2 million from desperate men, and she was proud of it too. Mai didn't hide her lifestyle at all. She even brought $60K in cash to this interview. The interviewer is a massive Japanese YouTuber, and the reason it happened at all is because she's a fan of his and was spamming him for attention. He asked really good questions, and she ended up looking pretty bad.
2億円人からもらってるわけじゃないですか。それは収入としてちゃんとやってるの？
何の話ね。
確定申告的なやつだよ。
知らなかった。
お前脱税してるのそれ。
え？
まあやばくないマジで犯罪者なんだけどこの人。犯罪者だよお前普通に。
じゃあこれ、
お前逮捕だよもう。お前逮捕。もうお前捕まえるからね。もう嘘つきでしょ。でしかも嘘つきを量産させてるよ。お前とんでもない嘘つきだよ。でもよくインタビュー出てくれたね逆に。
Afterwards, she threatened to go to the cops if he released it, but he released it anyways. Giga Chad. Why did Mai want to be in the public eye so badly? Perhaps she just wanted attention, but there was another reason. The guide we went through earlier, she was selling it for $300 a pop, and business was booming.
どれくらい今まで購入者がいたの？何人ぐらい
2000人。
？2000人以上。まあ皆さん買わないでくださいね本当。
This was the beginning of the end for Mai. Remember when I mentioned that aftercare is the most important part? Another reason for this is because guys who feel scammed go to the cops. Unfortunately for Mai, some of her students must have skipped that chapter, specifically 19-year-old convenience store employee Ieda Miku, who, after buying Mai's guide, scammed around $100,000 out of 2 men by lying that she was going to be forced to appear in a certain kind of video if they didn't help her. After they paid her, she didn't do any aftercare. In fact, you could say she did negative aftercare. To both men, she sent a message, "Miku has been kidnapped," and blocked them. And when 2 men bring such an absurd story to the Nagoya police within 1 month, they start to connect the dots. They quickly tracked down and arrested Miku, found the guide on her phone, and then arrested Mai for aiding and abetting. This put Mai's face on the news, which made quite a few of her past victims realize they were scammed and go to the cops. Because guys were finally coming forward, they were able to arrest Mai 2 more times over the next couple months. One of the most interesting things they found after arresting her is that she never had any savings. She was essentially living paycheck to paycheck. Well, other people's paycheck to paycheck. Every month, she was spending all of the money she received. On what, you might ask? Host clubs. A host club is a place where women pay for the company of charming men. Hosts give them attention and entertain them with conversation and alcohol in a controlled social setting. Host clubs can be cheap if you go once in a while. The first visit is heavily discounted, but if you become a regular, they're really expensive. In Mai's case, she was a bit more than a regular.
これはホストクラブに使います。
She fell in love with a host, specifically this guy, and spent so much money at the club, the staff started calling her Mother Teresa. The only reason Mai started scamming was host clubs. Before host clubs, Mai was just a normal student with a part-time job. Host clubs made her want money, which is why she got into night work. That still didn't make enough, so she started scamming her clients. In the end, host clubs were her downfall. Even when she was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, she was living in capsule hotels, so she had more money to spend at the host club. On October 27th, Mai was in the news again, the fourth time in 2 months. But this time, it wasn't her being arrested, it was her host and his manager. They were arrested for knowingly receiving dirty money from Mai. But how can they prove the hosts knew the money was dirty? How about a text message found on Mai's phone from the host saying, "I am your accomplice now, I'll be arrested with you." Speaking of this host guy, everyone's talking about this fish-shaped kettle of his. Apparently, he bought it for like $25 on Amazon and served Mai soft drinks in it. For this luxurious service, he charged her around $100,000. On November 3rd, Mai appeared in court. Her appearance had changed a lot, and she was wearing glasses. She pled guilty to both aiding the scams with the guide and the scams that she did herself. The only new information we learned during the trial is that she has a husband who's Vietnamese. She hasn't been sentenced yet, and there's another trial coming in December.
よろしくあるとしたら、コメント欄はどうなりますか？考えるこの使うなら。
いや、わかんない。それはリリちゃん可愛いになってるかもしれないよ。
気にならない。
確かに。
You know, I've actually worked at a host club. I made a bonus video where I tell that story and talk a bit about the channel and why the videos take so long. It's free on my Patreon. You don't have to sign up. Link in the description. Check it out. Also, thanks to my patrons, and thank you for watching.